So, Mardi Gras was a little over a month ago, and a friend and I were talking about going next year. This led me to finally decide to edit the footage from my trip to New Orleans in December of last year. With me was my fiance, Lindsay, her brother Alex, his girlfriend Katie, and I wish I could make a video telling you about everything we did, all the beautiful people we met, maybe some of the history of this culturally rich metropolis of the South. But an account of all the meals we had might have to be sufficient instead. Our plane got in Wednesday afternoon, and the first thing we did after checking in and dropping off our bags at our hotel was get some grub. There happened to be a banh mi spot right across the street from us, Bubbles Cafe, so I got a roast pork banh mi, and she got a tofu one. We also got a Diet Coke and a bubble tea to wash them down, and some summer rolls as an appetizer. I found it endearing that they referred to the sandwiches as Vietnamese poboys, but I'm used to a lot more flavor in my Vietnamese food, being from an area with tons of Asian food. The summer roll dipping sauce was good on the sandwich though. After that, we took a walk down Canal Street, where our hotel was situated, and made our way over to the French Quarter. The vintage signage on everything from theaters and houses of culture to the Walgreens pharmacies was gorgeous. Later that evening, after Alex and Katie's flight got in, we decided to go to benji, a West African place that was rated as one of the best restaurants in New Orleans in 2021. I started with the fish pie. It was deliciously salty and came with a nice light tomatoey sauce. Although it definitely smelled like fish, so I don't recommend it if you're not a big seafood head like me. It reminded me of empanadas that I had in Puerto Rico once. Not the South American style. I got my main first, which was the jollof with beef. I've been dying to try jollof for years because of the song.
Ghana jollof, yummy. Ghana jollof, yummy.
And boy, did it look good. But I couldn't try it just yet because none of my companions had gotten their food yet. Finally, one by one, all of our dishes started coming out. Lindsay's black-eyed peas, which were awesome, and Katie's steamed vegetables, which were kind of a disappointment, and Alex's goat. As soon as the goat came out, we all stared. And I knew that I fucked up by not ordering it. As an Indian and a Bengali, I've grown up knowing that goat is the goat when it comes to meat. And I wish that I could have had a whole plate of his meal. It took a long time for us to get our food, but I'm not even going to blame him. There have been tons of issues keeping staff around, especially for small family-owned businesses. And I'm sure that any kind of Best of 21 badge that you can get would inundate a place like this. If you go to the pisser here, you can see that all of the cooking is done by one old lady. So if you live in New Orleans and are looking for a job, please apply here because it's an awesome restaurant and they really need the help. The next morning, we found ourselves at Molly's Rise and Shine. If I ever owned a cafe, this is how I'd want it to be. There was a rough schoolhouse and vintage theme to it, and all the table numbers were on various little trophies for things. I got the biscuit and gravy, Katie got the tamales, which were vegan, Alex got the classic biscuit sandwich, and Lindsay got the breakfast burrito. I tried a little bit of everything, and boy, let me tell you, rewatching this footage is making me hungry. Just look at that yolk crack. After stopping by for a bit at City Park, we went back to our hotel to rest up and get ready for our dinner that night at Gallaudet. If you already know, you already know. But if you don't, this spot has been around for around 120 years. It's been a favorite in New Orleans for generations and was frequented by Tennessee Williams, who mentions it in A Streetcar Named Desire. If you haven't checked out Eater's video on the place, I highly suggest doing so. I've had a couple of fancy dinners in my time, but I've never seen a wine list as big as this one. It's practically a volume of the friggin' Encyclopedia Britannica. We got a bottle of sparkling rosé to start and some cocktails with our meals. To start, Lindsay and I shared an order of the Oysters Rockefeller, and Alex and Katie had the fried eggplant sticks. I highly recommend both, even if you don't normally like oysters. Then, of course, I had to have the famous turtle soup, which, to be honest, was not what I was expecting. It's super boozy, and you can't really get a feel for what the flavor of the turtle meat is since it's ground. Actually, come to think of it, the flavor of the soup overall is pretty subtle. I got a special, which was their famous trout with the sauce made with sliced almonds. Lindsay got another one of the fish, and Alex got chicken creole. Katie got the vegetables creole. I tried a little bit of everything again, but the portions were so huge that I couldn't try much. I wasn't mad though, since my favorite was what I ordered. And finally, for dessert, I got a key lime tart with mango and whipped cream. Key lime pie is already my favorite dessert, and they put it in one of my favorite form factors, the French tart. Along with mango, that was stuffed, but I loved it so much. If I were able to do it all again, I'd probably show up earlier or have an earlier reservation, because I wanted to try their famous souffle potatoes, which were sold out when we went, and apparently always sell out pretty quickly. The next morning, we got ourselves to the French market and had to try tourist staple Café du Monde and their famous beignets, or French donuts, which are coated in powdered sugar, and their chicory coffee. Afterwards, the two couples split up, and on our friend Gaspace's recommendation, we hit Molly's for their frozen Irish coffees. These things really hit the spot, and I could see myself developing a bit of a habit if I lived here. For lunch, we hit up Nola Poboys, which, judging from all the tourist pamphlets, is a big spot for tourists. And it makes sense, because I might not know po' boys, but I know sandwiches, and this was a damn good sandwich spot. That's smart. We split fries and sweet potato fries between the four of us, and I got the gallaudet special, which had fried shrimp smothered in lobster bisque. This thing was messy, but I was able to eat it in one sitting, despite having wiped my way through several rainforests worth of trees and napkins. After an amazing ghost tour that allowed you to drink, we were trashed and starving late at night and ended up at Backspace, a writer-themed bar. It was definitely an interesting experience. We asked the bar if they were serving food, and they just said, let me find my cook. Within 15 minutes, however, before me sat a gigantic burger and some fries. Typical bar food, but it hit the spot after walking around and drinking all night. And then I saw some framed letters to Hemingway, one of my favorite writers, so that was cool too. The walk back up Canal Street to the hotel was insane. Friday nights in New Orleans are Siren City. As someone who grew up in New York spending his summers in Calcutta, a city of 15 million, I can honestly say I've never heard sirens be that loud on a city street. We picked up slushies somewhere, and then I had my leftover gallaudet. Our last day, we went to the World War II Museum and the Bywater. Our meals were less adventurous that day, and I forgot my camera, so these clips were for my phone. We stopped at a random breakfast spot downtown, and after the museum, we ate at a generic white people Mexican food joint. The beers, margs, and nachos were not bad at all, what can I say? We didn't have a real dinner that night, but we had big beers and even bigger pretzels at Bratzjal, a German-themed spot with a lot of punk rockers working in the back. There's one more super hip spot that we hit too, but I can't remember the name because it had been a couple days straight of getting hammered. After a few more drinks, Alex and I decided to walk to Weedat's Chicken, which was definitely the type of place me and my friends would eat at back home in Jersey. We split a 10-piece Wazam sauce wings with fries. I'm not really sure what's in Wazam sauce, but it was hot, tangy, and delicious. Definitely hit the spot, but after that, I was ready to hit the sack. And that was that. Our last meal in the city of New Orleans. At the airport on our way home, I had a small shrimp po' boy and a mimosa at some bar. There was another couple there who flipped out because their sandwich wasn't as big as ours, and yeah, it was an airport, so the pricing was absurd. But I wasn't satisfied by even my bigger sandwich, so we decided to stop by the Café du Monde airport location. Lindsay had the good sense to shake the bag, so its contents were more coated thoroughly in that delicious powdered sugar. And that's that. Everything I ate and some of the things I drank in New Orleans. This is one of my favorite vacations I've ever taken, and I met tons of cool people who were super interesting, and I wish I could have featured all of them in the video. I have a good friend, Dan, the one who we're discussing going to Mardi Gras next year with. He's obsessed with Cajun cooking and the culture of New Orleans, so I'd love to go back with the guy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me on my next adventure.